Don't do that.
Turn the external speaker down.
Huh?
Turn your external speaker down.
I turned it off.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to unplug it like I did last time.
Oh,
Took
holy
too long
cow.
to find the cord.
If you've got an earbud in, that really.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Let's see for our OCD people here.
There you go. Now I can point at it.
Which the biggest one of all is right there. Good evening, everybody. Mama Jan, Dustin, Jared, Richard Jr. Yes, Richard, we got your little deal today. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Private Eye for Freedom. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, sure is. Thanks for jumping right in. Had a blast on the auction. That was a lot of fun for the first one. It was kind of short and sweet compared to some, but
we were on from 3 to 5. Short and sweet, my left foot.
We're going to get one going for all day next time.
And
the hundreds and hundreds of items.
Yeah.
We'll have to use numbers this time instead of letters.
Yeah. For everybody who purchased items at the auction, they will be sent out tomorrow afternoon. I've got them all piled up here, getting ready to box them up in the morning. We took the day off today.
Yes, we are well rested. You called it right, Dusty.
I called my brother and had him arrange for him to come spend
something on fire over here.
Leroy
left the cigar burning over here, I guess.
The afternoon with my dad. So Q and I took off for the afternoon with the dogs, which ended in one wet puppy and one dry puppy.
And went visiting too.
Yeah.
Went visiting. Had to go visit Leroy for a little bit. He felt left out.
Yeah, I ended up with
a invite him to the rally.
Mild case of sunburn. Or not sunburn, windburn.
Yeah, down on the lake, wind blowing pretty good on the lake, so she got a little windy. Windburn.
Yes, it was just what we needed, Mama Jan.
Well, I think it's safe to say the whole thing's about done too, and that they deserve to know that.
Yeah, it goes downhill a little bit more each day. So
time will tell.
Yeah.
On to bigger and better.
Yeah. The link that I posted at the beginning of the show, Joshua Pruitt sent an email to 1776 Camp Freedom and asked that we pass on the information about his petition about federal laws regarding veterans and PTSD. It used to be the number of veterans that committed suicide each day was 21. Now it's 45, I believe this email said. So if you're interested in taking a look at the petition, supporting it, the information is available, and y'all can decide for yourselves what it is that you need to do in regards to that. Julia says she's heading home from Camp Freedom. Have a safe trip.
It's I thought that too. It was Julia. Safe trip home. And Jared, love you, brother.
And
you need to give that little girl a big hug for me and the missus.
And one thing we do want to remind everybody, and I finally figured out what was going on with GoDaddy so I could get into my websites. They're building their website, and you have to go into the beta
edition. Yeah, they want to use the new stuff.
Yeah. Made me crazy.
Tell them how it works. It's called free tech.
But anyway, and we've put this on the website. If you're coming to visit, please contact us 24 to 48 hours in advance, so that we can be there when you come.
Mhm.
And even
You're
if
saying we. I like that.
well, that's you and Dustin.
No, you said we, like me and you.
Even if
Dustin's
you
always there.
even if you have visited before, please notify us that you are coming, so that we can make arrangements for whatever. So
Yeah. Well,
okay, Dustin, that's good.
and that the reason why is simply this: we have forms that we need to fill out from now on, even people that have been there before, and pretty much everybody except me, Paula, and Dustin have to fill one out. And the reason why is because it's something that Sam, the landowner, has requested, so that she knows everybody who's on the property when they're there, and the vehicles that are on the property and when they're there. So it's nothing where she's being nosy or anything. It's just something she needs to know to protect herself with her insurance.
Well, not just that. If we have your contact information, like we didn't have a phone number we needed. If we have your contact information, you don't happen to be in camp because you're visiting or something.
Well, but the
Um,
ones in camp are for when they're there.
yeah, well, no, I mean, like if you come to camp, you go visit somebody, and there's an emergency in camp, and that you need to know about, we need to have a way to contact everybody.
Absolutely. There's a lot of reasons for it. And we haven't been using them simply because we just finally got them made up the way they needed to be done.
Yeah. If something happens and somebody would fall and break something or hurt themselves, we need to know who your emergency contacts are. Just simple things like that.
Yes, we love her too, Jared. Bunches and bunches.
So just make sure you contact Dustin or Q or me. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
24 to 48 hours in advance when you are coming to visit. And that'll keep everything copacetic.
That's fantastic, Jared. Warms my heart to see you typing that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. Can't wait to meet the three of you. And I know it's going to be soon.
In fact, it was something we were talking about the other day.
This is Sunday night. It's a good night for a chat room night.
Yeah, among other things.
Y'all keep the chat room going there. We're going to do it. Just a Sunday night chat, maybe a little bit of reading. I probably ought to do a little bit of what to say.
Yeah, we haven't done any of that for a couple of days.
Won't be long. We'll be all the way through it. I'll have to pick another one of my self-help books.
Yeah.
I got lots of them. I've been a self-help nut.
Well,
reading books about self-help for quite a long time.
Well, that's okay, Mama Jan. He usually tries to pick up even if he's busy. So, or if he can't stop, he'll get back in touch with you just as soon as he can.
Yeah, Mama Jan, you can try me anytime. Everybody can.
Plus, he's a night owl.
Just be sure and use the voicemail if you get it.
Yeah, we get done the show, I walk the dogs and I go to bed, and he sits out here and whatever for another hour or two.
Gaming. I'm a 61-year-old gamer. Proud of it, because when I was 9, Dad came home from work one time and brought home a little thing called Pong. And now I'm carrying a little thing in the back of the pickup called a Pong. It's totally different.
Yeah, it's things that you hook up the trailer with.
Pong was the very first video game, and the new Pong is what holds the gooseneck on.
Yeah.
To the back of the truck.
Yeah. When a fellow that we do business with over our trailer business, and we called him up and tried to describe what it was we needed. He says, "Oh yeah, you need a Pong." Oh,
those are kind of hard to find, ain't they? Since they came out in like 72.
yeah.
Oh, different Pong. Doesn't even look the same. I hear you, Jared. Have to get you some headsets.
Headphones.
Headphones. What's different? Parking the driveway and driving the parkway. You the one being smart mouth earlier.
Was not. No track, no train, no ocean, no boat.
You think Bucky's hanging out with Leroy tonight?
I miss old Bucky.
Yeah, I miss a few.
I think about him a lot.
There's a few of them over I'd like to run into. I don't go to Walmart enough. That's probably where you run into them. Or we used to run into them.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say not when I go there. So.
Yeah, it was an amazing day. The weather was nice and warm. The sun was out all morning. And it got cloudy, but it was still warm down over the mountain.
Yeah, I went to visit your dad, and
Yep, got to go see Dad at the columbarium. Remember that word this time. That's a hard word to remember. Columbarium.
well, I had never heard.
I'm not sure I could pass it on the spelling test.
I've never heard them called that. That's
Columbarium is an outside wall built to house people who've been cremated. And it's a wall
a
with
vault.
vaults in it.
A vault with niches for urns containing ashes of the dead.
Columbarium. Learn something new every day.
Huh.
You better read the chat. I told you.
Sorry for your luck there, Dustin.
Yeah. Just wait till all the brothers show up for the wedding. Is there going to be a wedding? What? Oh, cousin. Okay, never mind. I thought it said getting married.
As long as it's past third. You might have created a monster there,
There
Jared.
you go, Jared. Yeah. I'd love to see that video. Yeah, what we could do, Miss Q can put the link up on the top and we can bring you on the show. That'd be the best.
Well,
I mean, if
she
she
has,
wants to do a video, that's cool too.
yeah, she has school tomorrow, so she's in bed.
Well, no, not tonight.
Yeah.
We have to plan it ahead of time.
Well, we could even do it.
You're supposed to be putting that up there all the time, so people
Yeah.
can jump in. It's Sunday night, so we're gonna put it up tonight in case anybody wants to jump in with us.
Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Oh man. Yeah, all the trees down there were blooming too. So it's
Leroy dropped his phone in the lake earlier, so he won't be in.
yeah, well, I wish we'd have dropped him in the lake.
He went in after.
Let's see. Oh no, I have to go over to Mad Republic to do that. To pin it.
Oh,
I can post it.
gonna pin it. Go
Yeah.
over on the commie board and pin it.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh. Still don't know what I'm doing. And let's see. Aha, it worked.
It worked. All right. Well, let me get the reading part done quick, and then we'll just open it up after that for as long as you want to stay on for the rest of it. Have some people jump in if you want. Come on in and hang out with us and talk. Tell us how your Sunday went. Yeah, this one is the one that's most important out of the chapters about where the last few chapters have started with the word changing. This one is changing attitudes. Everything we do is affected directly or indirectly by our attitude. A change in a person's attitude can affect just about everything else in that person's life. Even a small shift in attitude adjustment can have a profound effect on what we do and how we do it. If you've ever had a son or daughter in school, you know how true that is. A change in attitude can result in a change in grades, dress, habits, and friends. Why am I getting the feeling I've read this?
No. Maybe if you jumped ahead.
No, okay, yeah. I think I reread or read it ahead of time. That's what it is. I do that sometimes. The better the attitude, the better the results in almost anything we do, because attitude affects our feelings, and feelings affect what we do and how well we do it. Having a good attitude can be the deciding factor in our successes or failures. The right attitude gives us that important edge. Since our attitudes are the result of our programming, it makes good sense to take a look at the attitudes we are living with. Why are they what they are? And which of them we might like to change? Because every attitude we have directly affects how we feel about everything around us and what we do about it. Our attitudes are important. Without the right attitude, we will never have the key that unlocks the treasure chest of happiness and success we so badly want and so richly deserve. Attitudes create the biggest part of the picture we see of ourselves. They are the filters through which we view everything in our sight. Our attitudes are our disposition. They are the state of mind we live in. Our attitude expresses themselves through our moods, our temperament, our willingness, and our hesitation. Our attitudes propel us forward toward our victories or bog us down in defeat. They are the foothold beneath us in every step we take. They are what others see most of the personality within us. They describe us and define us, projecting the image we present to the world around us. Our attitude makes us rich or poor, happy or unhappy, fulfilled or incomplete. They are the single most determining factor in every action we will ever make. We and our attitudes are inextricably combined. We are our attitude, and our attitudes are us. Yeah. Managing attitudes in others. If you are in any way responsible for the development of the attitude of others, as a manager, parent, teacher, or even a friend, don't expect to change someone else's attitude with a carrot or a stick by using incentives, lectures, punishments, complaints, or flattery. Attitudes don't work that way. For years, business managers have used incentives to boost attitudes to improve productivity or increase sales. But even though they get short-term improvement, the same businesses find that before too long they have to put a new incentive program into effect or a new carrot on another stick. They didn't really change any attitude. They did nothing more than create a short-term temporary effect in their employees' outward behavior, not a change in their attitude. If you use an incentive of one kind or another to change an attitude, it may appear to work, but the effects won't last. You will find yourself needing to resupply another incentive each time the previous incentive wears off. Another time that we frequently use the wrong method to change attitudes is when we are attempting to help someone else improve an attitude that we believe is working against them. In spite of the fact that school counselors, parents, husbands, wives, managers, and friends frequently tell some individual, you need to change your attitude, telling someone that has never done any good at all. In fact, just saying that to someone can have the wrong effect. It is negative programming. It will work against the individual instead of for him. It reconfirms his pre-programmed belief that all the bad things he already thinks about himself are true. In fact, it is precisely when a person's attitude is down that is the hardest for that person to figure out any way to change it. Why should they? How can they? Our attitudes are determined by our beliefs. And if we believe we are less than the best, to us, it is a fact. That is a reality. That's the way it is. Of course, it isn't true at all. It's just true to the person who believes it. Recall for a moment the natural process by which attitudes are created in each of us. Programming creates belief. Belief creates attitude. Attitude creates feelings. Feelings determine actions, and actions create results. Each of those steps, behavior, feelings, attitude, and beliefs, is the logical and expected result of our conditioning. It follows then that every attitude we have, good, bad, or indifferent, is the natural result of the programming that preceded it. Every one of us from time to time suffers from a less than perfect attitude. A bad attitude doesn't belong solely to the student who won't study, or to the company employee who didn't get a raise, or to the best friend whose personal life has just fallen apart. Attitudes, good and bad, are an everyday part of everyone's life. An attitude we might like to change need not be an attitude that is calamitous or extreme. It may be a problem which is quite simple. An attitude which, if fine-tuned just a little, could make some small part of our daily lives work better. And because even the simplest or the most important of our attitudes can be changed by redoing a piece or two of our programming, if we would like to make the change, and we know how to make the programming change, there really isn't any impassable obstacle stopping us from going ahead and doing it. The attitudes which you have about create one additional important result. The attitude you have about yourself determines the attitude you will have about everything around you. So if you want to change the way you feel about anything else, you have to start first with the attitude you have about yourself. It is for this reason that most of the attitude-changing self-talk deals with you and how you see yourself. To illustrate, let's examine an actual pre-written script of attitude-changing self-talk. This category of self-talk includes such subject titles as freedom from worry, taking responsibility for yourself, building self-esteem, positive self-talk for teens, overcoming obstacles, determination and willpower, successful marriage, overcoming personal limitations, and believing in an incredible you. For this example, we use a self-talk script for personal responsibility. Our attitudes about the part each of us play in our own earthly destinies are some of the most important attitudes we ever hold. The difference between having an attitude of accepting responsibility for who we are and what we do, and having an attitude which makes excuses or places our lives in the hands of others, is essential to our ability to achieve a sense of self and the individual fulfillment which self-responsibility creates within us. But even considering the importance which this one attitude plays in each of our lives, notice how directly and effectively even a few self-talk statements can address a subject, simplify it, and begin the reprogramming process of an attitude that is essential to all of us. I'll let you continue. Bottom left, where the italics start.
Okay. Self-talk for taking responsibility for yourself. I take responsibility for everything about me, even the thoughts that I think. I am in control of the vast resources of my own mind. Very, very true. I alone am responsible for what I do and what I tell myself about me. No one can share this responsibility with me. I also allow others to accept their responsibilities for themselves, and I do not try to accept their responsibilities for them. I can't say that about everybody. My grandmother was a Infamous busybody. I also allow others to, I enjoy being responsible some days. It puts me in charge of being me, and that's a challenge I enjoy. I allow no one else, at any rate, to assume control or responsibility over my life or anything that I do. My responsibility to others is an extension of my own responsibility to myself. I choose to leave nothing about me up to chance. When it comes to me and anything in my life, I choose to choose. Yes, it goes back to the old saying about doing nothing is making a choice.
Right.
My choices are mine alone and made for myself. I do not at any time allow anyone else to make my choices for me. And I accept full responsibility for every choice and decision I make. I wish everybody did that. I always
Self-talk, it works.
Yeah. I always meet all of the obligations which I accept, and I accept no obligation which I will not meet. I am trustworthy. I can be counted on. I have accepted winning responsibility for myself, and I always live up to the responsibilities I accept. There is no one out there. What? There is. Wow, the editor missed that one. There is no one whom I lay the blame or with whom I share my own personal responsibilities. I have learned the great secret of mastering my own destiny. I have learned that they is me. I have no need to make excuses, and no one tells me to carry my, and no one, what's that? Oh, and no one needs to carry my responsibility for me. I gladly carry my own weight, and I carry it well. Each day I acknowledge and accept the responsibility not only for my own actions, but also for my emotions, my thoughts, and my attitudes. I accept the responsibility for living my life in a way which creates my strengths, my happiness, my positive, healthy beliefs, and for my past, my present, and my future. That's a great attitude, the kind of attitude which most of us could do with a little more of. It is an attitude which gets us to stand up for ourselves and be counted. It is an attitude which we can, if we choose, affect in our own lives any time we want. But it is just one attitude of many which each of us can address and put into motion just by reconvincing ourselves, by overriding the old program which told us that other people, by some stroke of fate, count more than we do. And that is a toughie.
One windy PhD.
One you have
Long
to
sentences.
one you have to work on every day. There are many such attitudes. Some of them are less lofty and perhaps not as demanding, but they are made up of perhaps the most important self-talk of all, the self-talk of self-belief. That is what attitudes are all about. Here is an example of attitude-changing self-talk which any of us can use from time to time. If I were ever again to teach in a classroom, I would add the lesson of this self-talk to my everyday curriculum. It is one of the most basic and primary forms of self-talk, but the attitude it can create in us touches every part of our lives. It is the fabric of which we all succeed is woven. It is the God-given birthright which all of us were born with. and deserve to retrieve, embrace, enjoy, and possess for the rest of our lives. It restores us and builds us up. It structures our character, sustains our strength, and fortifies our courage. It is the internal substance of self belief, and it is the self talk of self esteem, which we will leave for another day.
Absolutely.
But yes,
Because I got a surprise or something.
it's easy to sit and read a self-help book or one like What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. But unless you work at these affirmations for, we'll use the new age word, unless you work on these every day, it's really, really easy to backslide. And I'm guilty of that. As many years as I've practiced self-talk, I'm guilty of backsliding in some areas, particularly when it comes to the situation that we're in now. So, yeah, it's easy to let people get to you, especially people you love and respect, and you don't want to be a bitch about things, but yeah, it's hard when you're talking to family members, mentors, bosses, you know, anybody who has any authority over you, especially when we get to the self-talk of self-esteem, is really tough to keep a grip. Because it's one thing when somebody critiques your work and points out to you where you need improvement. That's fine because they're talking about your work, even though your work might be very important to you. But if they're talking about you on a personal basis, it's a little bit tougher. I mean, it has to be something that's really objectively, if a person has, I've met people that have entitlement or attitude problems that you just want to smack them. But that people who have authority over you are also ones that you have to be careful that they don't drag you down with their criticisms, especially if it's like something where a lot of politics on the job or something like that. Somebody taking credit for your work or some such. There's all kinds of situations out there where um, I won't say a superior, but somebody who has more power in an organization than you do um, can really cut into your positive self-talk, because people forget how much power words have. Because you see people that say, "Oh, well, no big deal to me," I don't pay any attention to that, but there's still that little voice that catches that and keeps repeating that in your ear. But Joe Smith said, you know, oh, yeah. Q just looked up the Reagan speech about a time for choosing.
I agree with Jared. I think everybody should hear it.
How long is it?
29 minutes.
Okay.
October 27th, 1964, A Time for Choosing, Ronald Reagan's televised speech for the Goldwater presidential campaign. And yes, it needs every person who claims to be a flag-waving, red, white, and blue loving, hot apple pie American should listen to this and understand everything that's said in it. Because some of it you need to stop and think about it to understand it. So I need to get back over here.
You need to get it on the share.
Yeah, let's see, where do we do that? Share.
Under present. or present.
Present. There you go. Let's see. Screen.
Click over to Windows if that's not showing up.
Microsoft Edge tab is what I wanted.
If that's what it's under. Yeah, there it is.
It's on the search. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Jared, this is for you, brother. I can't hear it, so is it working?
The following pre-recorded political program is sponsored by TV for Goldwater Miller on behalf of Barry Goldwater, Republican candidate for President of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we take pride in presenting a thoughtful address by Ronald Reagan. Mr. Reagan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you and good evening. The sponsor has been identified, but unlike most television programs, the performer hasn't been provided with a script. As a matter of fact, I have been permitted to choose my own words and discuss my own ideas regarding the choice that we face in the next few weeks. I have spent most of my life as a Democrat. I recently have seen fit to follow another course. I believe that the issues confronting us cross party lines. Now, one side in this campaign has been telling us that the issues of this election are the maintenance of peace and prosperity. The line has been used, we've never had it so good. But I have an uncomfortable feeling that this prosperity isn't something on which we can base our hopes for the future. No nation in history has ever survived a tax burden that reached a third of its national income. Today, 37 cents out of every dollar earned in this country is the tax collector's share. And yet our government continues to spend $17 million a day more than the government takes in. We haven't balanced our budget 28 out of the last 34 years. We've raised our debt limit 3 times in the last 12 months. And now our national debt is 1.5 times bigger than all the combined debts of all the nations of the world. We have $15 billion in gold in our treasury. We don't own an ounce. Foreign dollar claims are $27.3 billion. And we've just had announced that the dollar of 1939 will now purchase 45 cents in its total value. As for the peace that we would preserve, I wonder who among us would like to approach the wife or mother whose husband or son has died in South Vietnam and ask them if they think this is a peace that should be maintained indefinitely. Do they mean peace, or do they mean we just want to be left in peace? There can be no real peace while one American is dying someplace in the world for the rest of us.
Yep.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Not too long ago, 2 friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. You and I are told increasingly we have to choose between a left or right. Well, I'd like to suggest there is no such thing as a left or right. There's only an up or down. Man's old age dream, the ultimate in individual freedom consistent with law and order, or down to the ant-heap of totalitarianism. And regardless of their sincerity, their humanitarian motives, those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. In this vote harvesting time, they use terms like the Great Society, Or, as we were told a few days ago by the president, we must accept a greater government activity in the affairs of the people. But they've been a little more explicit in the past. And among themselves, and all of the things I now will quote have appeared in print. These are not Republican accusations. For example, they have voices that say the Cold War will end through our acceptance of a not undemocratic socialism. Another voice says the profit motive has become outmoded. It must be replaced by the incentives of the welfare state. Or our traditional system of individual freedom is incapable of solving the complex problems of the 20th century. Senator Fulbright has said at Stanford University that the Constitution is outmoded. He referred to the president as our moral teacher and our leader. And he says he is hobbled in his task by the restrictions of power imposed on him by this antiquated document. He must be freed so that he can do for us what he knows is best. And Senator Clark of Pennsylvania, another articulate spokesman, defines liberalism as meeting the material needs of the masses through the full power of centralized government. Well, I, for one, resent it when a representative of the people refers to you and me, the free men and women of this country, as the masses. This is a term we haven't applied to ourselves in America. But beyond that, the full power of centralized government, this was the very thing the founding fathers sought to minimize. They knew that governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. They also knew, those founding fathers, that outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy. Now, we have no better example of this than government's involvement in the farm economy over the last 30 years. Since 1955, the cost of this program has nearly doubled. 1/4 of farming in America is responsible for 85% of the farm surplus. 3/4 of farming is out on the free market and has known a 21% increase in the per capita consumption of all its produce. You see, that 1/4 of farming, that's regulated and controlled by the federal government. In the last 3 years, we've spent $43 in the feed grain program for every dollar bushel of corn we don't grow. Senator Humphrey last week charged that Barry Goldwater, as president, would seek to eliminate farmers. He should do his homework a little better, because he'll find out that we've had a decline of 5 million in the farm population under these government programs. He'll also find that the Democratic administration has sought to get from Congress extension of the farm program to include that 3/4 that is now free. He'll find that they've also asked for the right to imprison farmers who wouldn't keep books as prescribed by the federal government. The Secretary of Agriculture asked for the right to seize farms through condemnation and resell them to other individuals. And contained in that same program was a provision that would have allowed the federal government to remove 2 million farmers from the soil. At the same time, there's been an increase in the Department of Agriculture employees. There's now 1 for every 30 farms in the United States. And still, they can't tell us how 66 shiploads of grain headed for Austria disappeared without a trace, and Billy Sol Estes never left shore. Every responsible farmer and farm organization has repeatedly asked the government to free the farm economy. But who are farmers to know what's best for them? The wheat farmers voted against a wheat program. The government passed it anyway. Now the price of bread goes up, the price of wheat to the farmer goes down. Meanwhile, back in the city, under urban renewal, the assault on freedom carries on. Private property rights so diluted that public interest is almost anything a few government planners decide it should be. In a program that takes from the needy and gives to the greedy, we see such spectacles as in Cleveland, Ohio, a $1.5 million building completed only 3 years ago must be destroyed to make way for what government officials call a more compatible use of the land. The president tells us he's now going to start building public housing units in the thousands, where heretofore we've only built them in the hundreds. But FHA and the Veterans Administration tell us they have 120,000 housing units they've taken back through mortgage foreclosure. For 3 decades, we've sought to solve the problems of unemployment through government planning, and the more the plans fail, the more the planners plan. The latest is the Area Redevelopment Agency. They've just declared Rice County, Kansas, a depressed area. Rice County, Kansas has 200 oil wells, and the 14,000 people there have over $30 million on deposit in personal savings in their banks. When the government tells you you're depressed, lie down and be depressed. We have so many people who can't see a fat man standing beside a thin one without coming to the conclusion the fat man got that way by taking advantage of the thin one. So they're going to solve all the problems of human misery through government and government planning. Well, now, if government planning and welfare had the answer, and they've had almost 30 years of it, shouldn't we expect government to read the score to us once in a while? Shouldn't they be telling us about the decline each year in the number of people needing help, the reduction in the need for public housing? But the reverse is true. Each year, the need grows greater, the program grows greater. We were told 4 years ago that 17 million people went to bed hungry each night. Well, that was probably true. They were all on a diet. But now we're told that 9.3 million families in this country are poverty-stricken on the basis of earning less than $3,000 a year. Welfare spending 10 times greater than it was in the dark depths of the Depression. We're spending $45 billion on welfare. Now, do a little arithmetic, and you'll find that if we divided the $45 billion up equally among those 9 million poor families, we'd be able to give each family $4,600 a year. And this, added to their present income, should eliminate poverty. Direct aid to the poor, however, is only running about $600 per family. It would seem that someplace there must be some overhead. So now we declare war on poverty, or you too can be a Bobby Baker. Now, do they honestly expect us to believe that if we add $1 billion to the $45 billion we're spending, one more program to the 30-odd we have, and remember, this new program doesn't replace any, it just duplicates existing programs, do they believe that poverty is suddenly going to disappear by magic? Well, in all fairness, I should explain there is one part of the new program that isn't duplicated. This is the youth feature. We're now going to solve the dropout problem, juvenile delinquency, by reinstituting something like the old CCC camps. And we're going to put our young people in these camps. But again, we do some arithmetic and we find that we're going to spend each year just on room and board for each young person we help, $4,700 a year. We can send them to Harvard for $2,700. Of course, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting Harvard is the answer to juvenile delinquency. But seriously, what are we doing to those we seek to help? Not too long ago, a judge called me here in Los Angeles. He told me that a young woman who'd come before him for a divorce. She had 6 children, was pregnant with her 7th. Under his questioning, she revealed her husband was a laborer earning $250 a month. She wanted the divorce to get an $80 raise. She's eligible for $330 a month in the Aid to Dependent Children program. She got the idea from 2 women in her neighborhood who'd already done that very thing. Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything. Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. Now, we're for a provision that destitution should not follow unemployment by reason of old age. And to that end, we've accepted Social Security as a step toward meeting the problem. But we're against those entrusted with this program when they practice deception regarding its fiscal shortcomings, when they charge that any criticism of the program means that we want to end payments to those people who depend on them for a livelihood. They've called it insurance to us in 100 million pieces of literature. But then they appeared before the Supreme Court and they testified it was a welfare program. They only used the term insurance to sell it to the people. And they said Social Security dues are a tax for the general use of the government. And the government has used that tax. There is no fund. Because Robert Byers, the actuarial head, appeared before a congressional committee and admitted that Social Security, as of this moment, is $298 billion in the hole. But he said there should be no cause for worry, because as long as they had the power to tax, they could always take away from the people whatever they needed to bail them out of trouble. And they're doing just that. A young man, 21 years of age, working at an average salary, his Social Security contribution would in the open market buy him an insurance policy that would guarantee $220 a month at age 65. The government promises $127. He could live it up until he's 31 and then take out a policy that would pay more than Social Security. Now, are we so lacking in business sense that we can't put this program on a sound basis so that people who do require those payments will find they can get them when they're due, that the cupboard isn't bare? Barry Goldwater thinks we can. At the same time, can't we introduce voluntary features that would permit a citizen who can do better on his own to be excused upon presentation of evidence that he had made provision for the non-earning years? Should we not allow a widow with children to work and not lose the benefits supposedly paid for by her deceased husband? Shouldn't you and I be allowed to declare who our beneficiaries will be under this program, which we cannot do? I think we're for telling our senior citizens that no one in this country should be denied medical care because of a lack of funds. But I think we're against forcing all citizens, regardless of need, into a compulsory government program, especially when we have such examples as was announced last week when France admitted that their Medicare program is now bankrupt. They've come to the end of the road. In addition, was Barry Goldwater so irresponsible when he suggested that our government give up its program of deliberate planned inflation so that when you do get your Social Security pension, $1 will buy $1's worth and not 45 cents worth? I think we're for an international organization where the nations of the world can seek peace. But I think we're against subordinating American interests to an organization that has become so structurally unsound that today you can muster a 2/3 vote on the floor of the General Assembly among nations that represent less than 10% of the world's population. I think we're against the hypocrisy of assailing our allies because here and there they cling to a colony, while we engage in a conspiracy of silence and never open our mouths about the millions of people enslaved in the Soviet colonies in the satellite nations. I think we're for aiding our allies by sharing of our material blessings with those nations which share in our fundamental beliefs. But we're against doling out money government to government, creating bureaucracy, if not socialism, all over the world. We set out to help 19 countries. We're helping 107. We've spent $146 billion. With that money, we bought a $2 million yacht for Haile Selassie. We bought dress suits for Greek undertakers, extra wives for Kenya government officials. We bought 1,000 TV sets for a place where they have no electricity. In the last 6 years, 52 nations have bought $7 billion worth of our gold, and all 52 are receiving foreign aid from this country. No government ever voluntarily reduces itself in size, so government programs once launched never disappear. Actually, a government bureau is the nearest thing to eternal life we'll ever see on this earth. Federal employees number 2.5 million. And federal, state, and local, 1 out of 6 of the nation's workforce employed by government. These proliferating bureaus with their thousands of regulations have cost us many of our constitutional safeguards. How many of us realize that today federal agents can invade a man's property without a warrant? They can impose a fine without a formal hearing, let alone a trial by jury. And they can seize and sell his property at auction to enforce the payment of that fine. In Chico County, Arkansas, James Weir overplanted his rice allotment. The government obtained a $17,000 judgment, and a U.S. Marshal sold his 960-acre farm at auction. The government said it was necessary as a warning to others to make the system work. Last February 19th at the University of Minnesota, Norman Thomas, 6-time candidate for president on the Socialist Party ticket, said if Barry Goldwater became president, he would stop the advance of socialism in the United States. I think that's exactly what he will do. But as a former Democrat, I can tell you Norman Thomas isn't the only man who has drawn this parallel to socialism with the present administration. Because back in 1936, Mr. Democrat himself, Al Smith, the great American, came before the American people and charged that the leadership of his party was taking the party of Jefferson, Jackson, and Cleveland down the road under the banners of Marx, Lenin, and Stalin. And he walked away from his party and he never returned till the day he died. Because to this day, the leadership of that party has been taking that party, that honorable party, down the road in the image of the Labor Socialist Party of England. Now, it doesn't require expropriation or confiscation of private property or business to impose socialism on a people. What does it mean whether you hold the deed to or the title to your business or property if the government holds the power of life and death over that business or property? And such machinery already exists. The government can find some charge to bring against any concern it chooses to prosecute. Every businessman has his own tale of harassment. Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government. And freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment. Our Democratic opponents seem unwilling to debate these issues. They want to make you and I believe that this is a contest between two men, that we're to choose just between two personalities. Well, what of this man that they would destroy? And in destroying, they would destroy that which he represents, the ideas that you and I hold dear. Is he the brash and shallow and trigger-happy man they say he is? Well, I've been privileged to know him when. I knew him long before he ever dreamed of trying for high office. And I can tell you personally, I've never known a man in my life I believed so incapable of doing a dishonest or dishonorable thing. This is a man who, in his own business, before he entered politics, instituted a profit-sharing plan before unions had ever thought of it. He put in health and medical insurance for all his employees. He took 50% of the profits before taxes and set up a retirement program, a pension plan for all his employees. He sent monthly checks for life to an employee who was ill and couldn't work. He provides nursing care for the children of mothers who work in the stores. When Mexico was ravaged by the floods in the Rio Grande, he climbed in his airplane and flew medicine and supplies down there. An ex-GI told me how he met him. It was the week before Christmas during the Korean War, and he was at the Los Angeles airport trying to get a ride home to Arizona for Christmas. And he said that a lot of servicemen there and no seats available on the planes. And then a voice came over the loudspeaker and said, any men in uniform wanting a ride to Arizona, go to runway such and such. And they went down there. There was a fellow named Barry Goldwater sitting in his plane. Every day in those weeks before Christmas, all day long, he'd load up the plane, fly it to Arizona, fly them to their homes, fly back over to get another load. During the hectic split-second timing of a campaign, this is a man who took time out to sit beside an old friend who was dying of cancer. His campaign managers were understandably impatient, but he said there aren't many left who care what happens to her. I'd like her to know I care. This is a man who said to his 19-year-old son, there is no foundation like the rock of honesty and fairness. And when you begin to build your life on that rock, with the cement of the faith in God that you have, then you have a real start. This is not a man who could carelessly send other people's sons to war. And that is the issue of this campaign that makes all the other problems I've discussed academic, unless we realize we're in a war that must be won. Those who would trade our freedom for the soup kitchen of the welfare state have told us they have a utopian solution of peace without victory. They call their policy accommodation. And they say if we'll only avoid any direct confrontation with the enemy, he'll forget his evil ways and learn to love us. All who oppose them are indicted as warmongers. They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple. If you and I have the courage to tell our elected officials that we want our national policy based on what we know in our hearts is morally right, we cannot buy our security, our freedom from the threat of the bomb, by committing an immorality so great as saying to 1 billion human beings now enslaved behind the Iron Curtain, give up your dreams of freedom, because to save our own skins, we're willing to make a deal with your slave masters. Alexander Hamilton said, "A nation which can prefer disgrace to danger is prepared for a master and deserves one." Now let's set the record straight. There's no argument over the choice between peace and war, but there's only one guaranteed way you can have peace, and you can have it in the next second: surrender. Admittedly, there's a risk in any course we follow other than this, but every lesson of history tells us that the greater risk lies in appeasement. And this is the specter our well-meaning liberal friends refuse to face, that their policy of accommodation is appeasement. And it gives no choice between peace and war, only between fight or surrender. If we continue to accommodate, continue to back and retreat, eventually we have to face the final demand, the ultimatum. And what then? Well, Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be. He has told them that we're retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday, when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time, we will have been weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side, he's heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better read than dead. Or as one commentator put it, he'd rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. And this is the meaning, in the phrase of Barry Goldwater, peace through strength. Winston Churchill said the destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals. And he said there's something going on in time and space and beyond time and space, which, whether we like it or not, spells duty. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. We will keep in mind and remember that Barry Goldwater has faith in us. He has faith that you and I have the ability and the dignity and the right to make our own decisions and determine our own destiny. Thank you very much.
That is one of the greatest presidents we ever had, along with JFK and a man named Trump. I put all three of them together in the same basket, in their own right. We can stop it. We stopped it. As long as that doesn't turn my mic off, we're good.
Good. Still hear you.
And yep, I'm glad Jared brought that up because I needed to hear it again. It's been quite a while since I heard the whole thing. I've actually listened to bits and pieces of it probably over the last couple of years. It's been quite a while since I heard the whole thing all at once. So thank you for that, Jared, for inspiring me to play.
Yeah.
There'll never be another Reagan.
No.
Another JFK. But there is a guy named Donald Trump. And I do believe that I've always said it. I still believe it today. He's always been the president. He's never been taken out. He never conceded. And we're We're all going to find out exactly how that's going to go down here real soon. Don't think, I still believe we're not going to have to wait for 2024.
I think we're going to, well, yeah, I think we'll be waiting till then, but
Yeah.
I'm encouraged by this new crop of candidates for 2024.
I'm
There.
encouraged by the new crop of Q reports. Thank you very much. Whichever rules your crop of candidates. There's no need for candidates because we still have a president.
Well, if things
Maybe
get,
there might be an election on 24, but it'll be President Trump, not candidate Trump.
regardless, he has some stiff competition who
We're
have
just
the same.
trying to figure out where this changed. He was for Q.
Well, I didn't say I wasn't for
You
Q.
can't be Q and what you're saying at the same time.
Well, what Q says is interesting to keep in mind,
Oh, here we
But-
go.
but we also have what is going on in real life, which is, yes, we have candidates, regardless of.
Maybe there'll be an election, but it doesn't mean Trump isn't the president. They will have an election before 24. Anything can happen at this point.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
even if we do wait to 24 and there isn't this faux election, it'll still be President Trump. You can bet your knickers on it.
Well, you can bet your knickers. I'll keep mine. Thank you.
I don't have knickers. Although I did switch to boxers here not long ago.
I'm sure that was more information than
Well,
they
You're the one
needed.
that started it. Talking about
Well, that's right. He never conceded, Jared. Or I did it again, Dustin. I'm
See?
sorry.
see, the chat room agrees with me. I got a chat room full of Qs. Anons. We're all watching. The
Yeah.
Anons are watching and reporting. So pay close attention. Closer it gets to, let's say, what did they call October last year?
Well,
You
they
remember?
they can call it whatever they want, but
Red October.
yeah.
And it was, which led up to November. And we all know what happened there. Republicans got a good bit back.
Yeah. They got the house back.
Okay, so if you take that, and this coming November is another red November, what's it mean? Or October, what's it mean for this coming November? Which isn't even election day, but
Yeah.
it's gonna be something red.
Hmm. Let's all wait and see.
Well, I know-
Every morning
I
when
know
we
a little more than I'm sharing.
every morning
Well,
when we
just
get
leave
up,
it at
it's
that.
something different. So
There's been a little bit more reported by others besides Dave. So, but we'll just leave it at that because we're in a wait and see period here.
yeah.
It's going to take about another 30 days. But you just keep your eyes on gold. Better yet, buy some. Bitcoin, better buy some. They ain't going down. Any metals, silver, platinum,
Copper.
copper. Well, no, don't be buying my copper unless you want to buy it from me. I'm charging $5 a pound.
Okay.
It's over spot.
Well, I haven't checked copper in a while. Last time I checked, it was like
430,
7.
I think, is the last I
Oh.
saw. It's in the fours, four something.
But it's been a long day.
It's a good time being
A
using
scrapper.
a shredder.
Yeah.
Or not a shredder, a stripper.
A strip.
We got our stripper down in, we got our stripper over at headquarters. We're going to use it. Her, it, there's them pronouns again.
Well, considering it's a machine, it doesn't have a pronoun. Unless you guys are. Now I know where that
No,
money's
no, I don't
going.
know.
Receipts.
You're talking about the machine I took down, but Leroy's talking about, I don't know if that's the same stripper Leroy was talking about or not. I gotta get back down there and find out.
When did you take the stripper down?
2 trips ago.
Okay.
You know how many miles of wire we have at the lot to strip? And we have electric to plug it into.
You know how many miles of wire we have here?
I'm gonna drag all that down there. I'm gonna drag all the scrap down there and put it in the bin. I probably got, I don't know, 2 or 3 grand in scrap sitting down there in the backyard.
Oh, Mama Janny's.
Kids, no, don't be pinning that on me.
He's a stripper for an audience of 1.
There you go. I can handle that.
Oh, on that note.
That's not a good note to end it on.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes,
They'll talk about it for years. Okay, you ended on whatever note you want. I'm going to end it on this note.
Oh, we want to thank everybody who's with us this evening.
Don't forget, folks, Maryland's going recreational July 4th.
We thank you for your support each and every day, and it makes great shows like this. So.
Love you, Mama Jan, Jared, everybody that decided to hang out with us for the evening.
And it's always nice to end the evening with a laugh.
Looks like our usual 10 to 12 person crowd.
Yes.
That's a good deal.
So
not many lurkers tonight.
So everybody be safe, be blessed. As soon as they get
them lurkers seem to take step off with it. Sometimes.
They say
be blessed, like you said.
Everybody they say imitation is the best form of flattery.
More or less.
Tracking numbers will be going out tomorrow afternoon, so y'all can watch for your packages.
I was going to say more later. You got more to go.
More later.
Oh, more later then.
Love you. Bye.
Love y'all. Hugs to everybody. More later.
More later.
Bye. Love you. Bye.